you keep on giving. For your kindness, I'm in debt to you. For your selflessness, my admiration. And for everything you've done, you know I'm bound to thank you for it. La 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 la, yeah, la 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 la. I want to thank you, 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 thank you.
And we are thrilled tonight to announce that it starts at State, a campaign for South Dakota State University has received gifts and financial commitments totaling $255,736,045. Thank you so much.
It's hard to believe that was 8 years ago. I do remember that night. Frost Arena has been a place where so many magical moments have occurred. Add that one to the list. Sitting there and watching Dana, Jerry, and Al on stage, and Dana announcing that we had surpassed $250 million. That certainly was magical. Of our current trustees, 40 were not on the Council of Trustees at that time. I'm one of those 40. I joined in 2014. But as we look at the list of today's trustees, everyone was involved in that campaign in some way, as donors, as volunteers, as employees of the university. For a few of you, all three. I'll give a pass to our two student trustees, Caitlin Tilges and Zeb Johnson. They would have been freshmen in high school then. We've started today's meeting going back in time because of everything that campaign did to further elevate this university. Dana J. Dykehouse Stadium, Sanford Jackrabbit Athletic Complex, Avera Health and Science Center, the Oscar Larson Performing Arts Center, Daktronics Engineering Hall, an architecture program, more scholarships, more endowed faculty positions, facilities for swine and livestock education and research, the alumni green in the President's House. The list goes on. Each one of those projects were the result of money raised in our last campaign. It starts with State. We've built on the success of that ever since. We're upping the ante with our next campaign. Our working campaign goal is $425 million. We have our sights set on a goal of $500 million. That's $500 million. Our theme for today's meeting is Countdown to a Bold Future. There are 175 days until the campaign kickoff. And $500 million, that is definitely bold. As trustees, more is expected of us. We need you as donors, advocates, as strategists, and as salespeople. We're going to be a part of something that's truly historic, not only for SDSU, but for our whole state. The countdown has begun. I want to welcome you all today to this meeting. A special acknowledgement to our newest trustees, Brad Kortz, Rebecca Kurtz-Schwanke, Al Lorenz, Susan Moe, Kim Overby, Darren Peterson, and Jeff Skinner. We look forward to meeting you in person in October. I also want to call attention to our 2 student trustees. We learned a little about them at our fall meeting with their Day in the Life video they filmed. Caitlin has been selected as a commencement speaker for next month's graduation. Zeb has been elected the Student Federation president. He'll represent 33,500 students across our regential system. Thank you all for being with us today. We have a lot to cover in the next 90 minutes. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Erpenbach for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Rita. I want to echo Rita's thanks for your service and for being with us today. Last summer, Keith Malem and I had lunch with Dana Dykhouse and Kim Tyler and Mike Hart, our new Development Committee chair. As we all acknowledged the way COVID had altered some of our plans, both personally and professionally, Mike Hart made this observation. He said, if we're going to do something we haven't done before, we're going to have to do things we haven't done before. So in other words, if we're going to do something as bold as raise $500 million in a campaign, something we haven't yet done, we have to be willing to adapt, to try new things, to innovate. Last year's results are a testament to that. We exceeded our previous best year of fundraising by $10 million. Athletics set a record for its Jackrabbit Athletic auction. We set another record for One Day for State, including 4,888 donors in a single day. Keith will share details on that, as well as our prospects for 2021 very shortly. Last week's donor celebration is another example of doing something we haven't done before, a virtual donor celebration. We didn't dwell on what we couldn't do, we focused on what we could. Through that, we honored 325 donors. We recognized our philanthropic family of the year. We put the spotlight on some important campus figures, including an All-American basketball player and a Rhodes Scholar. We took people inside a spectacular new building, the Raven Precision Agriculture Center. We featured 68 talented singers and 10 talented members of our drumline. And we did all of that in a 52-minute program on YouTube Live. And we reached the largest audience ever. Nearly 1,100 devices were tuned in that night. Each device had at least one person, of course, but based on feedback, we know there were 2, 3, and sometimes more people connected and viewing with each device. It even resonated with the younger demographic. This princess here is Riley, the daughter of Loyalty Giving Director Aaron Glidden. And maybe the most exciting bit of data, we had viewers from 8 different countries outside of the United States. The last year has taught us a lot, and we're a better organization because of it. Our digital strategy to both inform and thank donors and alumni has been stepped up. We've increased our focus on data integrity, striving to have the most accurate data possible. With the guidance of our campaign consultant, BWF, we've invested in a series of processes, resources, and strategies under the umbrella of prospect development. In short, it's designed to make sure our fundraisers are spending their time with the right people. Those are investments that, while not visible to the public, are every bit as critical to our ultimate success in the campaign and beyond. What has not changed, what we're not doing different, is our approach to collaborating with our campus partners. And that starts at the very top with our president, Barry Dunn. Rita had an opportunity to sit down with the president to talk about this academic year and to look ahead.
Well, we're about 10 days away from an in-person commencement, so last year's graduation was done virtually. What is the significance to you of being able to do this commencement in person?
Well, it is a great achievement for us. We set a goal. We worked really hard for an entire year, academic year, to get to this point. So it's for those faculty and staff that created the environment that was safe for us to live and work and teach in. Kudos to them, because they've accomplished that great goal. To the students, think about the hours they spent with new teaching methods and new pedagogies, they're called, that they really hadn't bought into. And they did miss some really important student events and events on campus. So they've been in their dorm rooms a lot, and they've worked really hard, and now we get to celebrate that incredible achievement of gaining that degree that was uncertain a year ago. A year ago, we had to do it online just for the safety of the participants. That was a disease that was unknown. Think about how much we know now about COVID versus what we knew a year ago. So now we get to have grandpa and grandmas, aunts and uncles. We get to have post-graduation parties. And it is just an enormous accomplishment. Not all universities will do it this way. Duke University had to shut down their entire campus a couple weeks ago, and we did not. We stayed strong. Incredible testament to our students and their behavior and their willingness to buckle down and get through. And now we get to celebrate.
We know that the legislature demands a lot of your time and attention. This year has to go down as one of the most significant sessions based on investments made in higher education and in SDSU, particularly the Freedom Scholarship, the Bioproducts Facility, and the Dairy Farm. Can you tell us about the impact of those three?
Right. Just, as you said, mark this one down because we've never seen anything like this before. The Freedom Scholarship, $50 million of state money, along with $100 million pledged from T. Denny Sanford, plus $25 million pledged from two different healthcare organizations. Adding that up and continuing to fundraise, that changes this state forever. For the first time, we will have what other states have always had, and that's a needs-based scholarship. So it's great, great news. The bioprocessing initiative really is a step that we need to take to be successful in our goals for research and creative activity here at the university. It's kind of the next step. And so partnering with the Research Park at SDSU, partnering with the state of South Dakota gives us about 2/3 of the money we need. We still have to fundraise for the rest, but we've come a long, long way. The dairy processing facility, just that next step. We've rebuilt the agricultural research and teaching facilities on campus. This is kind of the last big one that we need to do. We got half of the money we needed from the state in this session, and that's wonderful. We need to fundraise for the rest of it. But when we were doing the other projects, we got very little state support because of budget constraints. This year we got an enormous amount of support. I will say the other part of this session was that our supporters across the state put in bills that we didn't know were coming, we didn't ask for, and yet they knew that we needed them. And so there were bills that people aren't aware of that were proposed by our supporters, which we're very, very grateful for, that didn't make it all the way through, but we're really appreciative of their support and their ideas and their creativity.
Those represent a major infusion of resources, but certainly there's more work and more investment needed in those areas, right? Can you elaborate?
Well, we've made a commitment to continuous improvement, and we've made a commitment to excellence, so being part of the way on these three big projects is a wonderful thing. But we've got to get across the finish line. So there's still we need to do more fundraising. We need that support from industry and friends of the university and alumni to push us towards that goal of excellence along the way, of continuous improvement. So we've got a ways to go, but we're very, very grateful for the resources that were provided.
As alumni, and especially as trustees, we're so accustomed to spending so much time on campus, seeing all the progress in the areas that have changed. That hasn't been quite as easy over this past year. When we have a chance to spend more time on campus this fall, what are we going to see? What are some of the biggest challenges or changes that either have happened or will happen?
First, I can't wait to get everybody back. It's just been such a almost lonely experience on campus when we're used to so much activity. So to all the trustees, come back soon. I would love to show you around. And what we will show you is a brand new Raven Precision Ag building on the northwest part of campus, right at the junction of Maderi and North Campus Drive. It's a beautiful building. And we'll get tours in the fall. We'll have a grand opening and on September 11th and with a football game and lots of fun activities. So really invite people back for that. They'll also see right in the heart of campus the new American Indian Student Center. And if you haven't been online, I'd encourage folks to go on our website, type in American Indian Student Center, and there's some videos that will take you through that new facility. It's just absolutely beautiful and very, very important for an important step for the university to take. So in addition to that, I think the other thing that I'd like to call out is that we will be finishing the remodeling and renovation of Ag Hall on the north end of the campus green with a new human anatomy lab that we've struggled to find the funding for, but we did. So that'll be in place in the fall. And then on the south end of the historic campus green, we are continue to renovate Lincoln Hall, which I think that bookend on either side of our campus green is so important to bring life back to the western part of the campus. So I'm really excited about those two projects, Ag Hall renovation with the anatomy lab and then Lincoln Hall. I think people will see that progress, and then a year from now those will be open and we'll have more celebrations, Frida, so that'll be fun.
There's always interest in enrollment. It's been great to host visits by prospective students in Worcester Celebration Hall at the Lohr Building, including the Scholars Weekend. We know students are still making decisions. Any insights on how enrollment might look?
You know, none of us really knew how those facilities would be used when architects drew up those drawings, 6 or 7 years ago, and we saw this beautiful plan for this side of campus. But Worcester has become an integral part of our recruiting of students. So it gave us enough space for us to bring families in on Friday mornings and Friday afternoons as a kind of a launching pad to go across campus. And they absolutely loved it. They loved the video boards and the historic things about Worcester, that whole experience. I think that's a great place to start recruiting, is in the Alumni Center. So that's been wonderful. In terms of what it looks like, higher ed is extremely competitive. The demographics of our region are not positive for higher education in terms of enrollment. That being said, we're hopeful that we'll have a strong enrollment for the fall. Admissions look good, accepted students look good. We're lagging in housing deposits, some real mundane things for you, but we monitor a lot of things very carefully, and we're hoping to have a healthy enrollment for the fall.
There are huge plans for this fall. The ribbon cuttings for Raven Precision Ag and the American Indian Student Center are two of them. Then, One Day for State, multiple investitures, the Jacks Bash 2, and Hobo Day. Then, the public launch of the comprehensive campaign. As the leader of this university, what does that lineup of events really mean to you?
Well, I think it's really fun. I think we're a university that can celebrate its past while we look to the future. And I think that's what the fall really will provide for us, that look back and that celebration of the time we were here as students, Rita, but also what an exciting future this place holds for generations of students to come. So And then, you know, when we get into the campaign, we'll be celebrating all the time because we're going to make major accomplishments that'll need to be celebrated. And it'll be, so there'll be, I think, several years of celebration here. You know, we just passed the 140th anniversary of this university, 140 years. And yet, think about, and we need to be so proud of that. At the same time, we need to look to the future, and that's what we're going to do this fall.
You know, and speaking of enrollment and particularly retention, I think you had mentioned to us at one point in time that the scholarships, an increase in scholarships, had positively affected retention. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, providing a needs-based kind of baseline scholarship gets us even with the states around us, which is great. But we still lag in those additional scholarships for other students. So we need to keep going on raising scholarships for our best and brightest, those honor students that really do enhance the university in multiple ways. And we need to stay strong on our Jackrabbit guarantees, and probably while we just increased them, we probably will see a move to increase them again to stay competitive in a very competitive world of higher ed in a region whose demographic trends aren't positive for growth. So very competitive. We need to keep our best and brightest or attract the best and brightest from our region and be competitive with Creighton and be competitive with University of Nebraska and University of Minnesota. To do that, we need some top-end scholarships to bridge that funding to make education affordable for students. The main reason why students stop out at some point in their career is financial. And so when we raised that Jackrabbit guarantee, we relieved that pressure for them. And so while it wasn't a large increase, it was just enough, I think, to take that pressure off those students. But we had to raise tuition again this year, 1%, to pay for salary increases that the state mandated. So that kind of slow march of increase of inflation and other things, we need to meet with scholarships if we're going to stay affordable and keep student debt down.
The foundation staff has adopted a practice this year of picking their one word, a word that will be their point of emphasis for personal and professional growth. I couldn't decide, so I actually picked two words, learning and improvement. What would your one word be for 2021?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think it would be momentum. We have, I think back, 2 presidents ago with President Emeritus Miller and the great accomplishments she did and how she kind of woke the university up, and with the first part of the Performing Arts Center and going Division I and the Jackrabbit Guarantee really kind of woke us up after some really tough years. And then, of course, President Emeritus Sheequin, just put the car in gear, put this university in gear, and really got us going. And in the last 5 years that I've been president, we've kept that momentum going, but we also have our eye on the future of accomplish even more. And so I think momentum is what I'd like to, what has been the word that I think we need to keep focused on. We need to keep the momentum. We had a great year of fundraising last year, record year of over $73 million in terms of accreditation, in terms of endowed professorships. Just about every benchmark we have, we're moving forward towards that excellence to be a premier university. Let's keep that momentum going. We need certainly the support of the trustees. But what an exciting future we have. And so let's keep the momentum going.
Good afternoon, everyone. The last time we were together, many of you probably remember Hattie Seaton joined us at our 2019 October Trustees meeting for a panel discussion to talk about international student experiences. A lot has happened in Hattie's life since then, so we asked her to come back and give us an update. Hattie, thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me join today.
So since our time together, you ran unopposed for Students Association president. You recently gavelled out your last SA meeting, probably one of the more unique SA president experiences. What stands out to you in that experience over the last year?
I think what really stands out to me is really how resilient and adaptable and focused the Senate was. As you mentioned, this was a really unique term. Our Senate, after we were sent home for the spring semester due to the pandemic, we swore in virtually. And that was the first time that entire Senate was all together. And in that virtual format and moving virtually into the fall, our Senate, we still were very capable and adaptable. And so being that we weren't maybe meeting in person in the same format, and in being adaptable, we created a senator mentoring program where we put together returning senators and new senators to build community and bring forward new ideas. We heard from student organization leaders that they had a lot of questions this year with the pandemic. And so we created a new leadership structure called the President's Council, where we brought together all of our presidents across our student organizations. And this was a really great structure that allows us to share ideas and have all presidents across campus in one room. And then our Senate was also just very focused. And so we passed 37 pieces of legislation, including access for all students to be able to access the Summer Wellness Center in the Miller Wellness Center during the summer for free. And so through those legislation pieces and being able to remain really driven, our students really were adaptable during the pandemic.
You played a significant role in lobbying members of the South Dakota legislature in support of the Freedom Scholarship. This will be a long-lasting legacy that creates a needs-based scholarship for students in South Dakota to attend higher education in South Dakota. From one Pell Grant student to another, why do you think this effort is important, and what will it mean to students and to South Dakota?
I think that this effort is important because everyone truly deserves the opportunity to be here. I testified in support of this legislation for 2 years, both as the Students Association's Government Affairs Chair and then as Students Association President. And both times when I had the opportunity to testify, I brought forward the message that we need to allow young South Dakotans to have the opportunity to dream and to be able to have the possibility to be here. And so as a Pell eligible student myself, I know that it can be difficult to dream of higher education when maybe you don't have as much support as your peers. And I've had so many amazing opportunities here through Students Association, through my courses, even becoming a Rhodes Scholar. And those sorts of possibilities and opportunities should be possible for all students across South Dakota.
It was a long time in coming, right? So you talked about testifying 2 years. I mean, this was a long process. So just a great win for South Dakota and for future students. You've been working your way through an SDSU bucket list of sorts over the last year and reporting back to me on progress. Your realization that you'd never been to the Ag Heritage Museum has been corrected. You also participated in Lamb Lead during Little I with absolutely no agriculture experience whatsoever. And you were named Reserve Champion. So talk a little bit about kind of your motivation and that experience.
Well, I've been having a whole lot of fun crossing items off of my bucket list. And one of those items was I really wanted to participate in Little International. Little International is a strong tradition here at SDSU. And I knew that this year was the 98th Little International. And I decided that I wanted to move outside of my comfort zone and participate in Lamb Lead. And I have no agricultural experience whatsoever. And so for me, I knew that this kind of experience, I would need to ask a lot of questions. And I received so much advice and help and support from my peers. And when I went out to the animal science arena, I didn't know what I was doing. I was intimidated. And so I learned how to catch my sheep, put a halter on my sheep. I learned how to fit it and show it. And I even learned facts about the the ag industry as well as the sheep industry for my interview. And so through this experience, I really took away that you can move outside of your comfort zone. And also there are students here at SDSU who are really supportive and are willing to step up and help you when you have a question or if you feel like you're in a zone of being uncomfortable.
And your whole outfit was wool, including your mask, right?
Yes, that is correct. I even found a wool mask, and so that was a whole lot of fun to show.
Dedication. That's dedication to the effort. That was not the only piece of Little International that you participated in. I think you and Zeb, right, one of the student trustees, participated in the dairy products competition. You created your own ice cream. Tell us about your ice cream and maybe how you decided to enter the competition or maybe reduce the competition, if you will.
So I'm a really big fan of ice cream. I think I'm one of the most loyal customers at the SDSU Dairy Bar. And I decided after trying so many flavors, I wanted to create my own flavor of ice cream. And I heard that one of the competitions within Little International is the dairy products competition where you can create your own ice cream flavor. And so Zeb and I, we teamed up and we plan to create a lemon crunch ice cream flavor. We took third place. And,
why did you take third place, Hattie?
And so we took third place because we actually broke the ice cream machine. We tried our best, and when the ice cream machine broke down, we eliminated some of our competition, and the rest of the teams who were planning to work on production that day were not able to do so. And so we think it was a competitive strategy, but I'm happy to report the ice cream machine has been fixed.
Yeah, I will say you're a competitive person and you brought that competitiveness in a unique way to the dairy products competition. You moved to SDSU after spending a gap year in Marrakesh, studying Arabic in a U.S. State Department program. You'll be speaking at one of the Fishback Honors College medallion ceremonies. I don't want to give too much of that speech away, but you will tell the story of climbing the Campanile, looking out at the vastness of SDSU, promptly descending, walking by Honors Hall, straight to your car, and driving right back to Sioux Falls. I'm struck by conquering your fears to spend a year in Morocco at 18, and then getting intimidated by SDSU. So clearly you conquered those fears, maybe with a little help from your mom. But what advice would you give to students that are at SDSU or coming to SDSU?
Well, Andy, maybe one difference between being up at SDSU versus Morocco is that I wasn't able to drive home from Morocco when I got scared. But, you know, when I came as a freshman, I felt really intimidated at all the opportunities that were ahead of me as a student at SDSU. I drove home and my mom was the person who encouraged me to come back to campus and just really get involved with everything. And so for me, that meant that I wanted to immerse myself in my classes. I wanted to get to know my professors. I wanted to find groups that really resonated with me. And so I became a part of the Students Association. And my advice to other students, I'm certainly not the only one who maybe felt a little intimidated at the very beginning of my freshman year, is to embrace it. And so embracing being at SDSU means getting involved. There is a community and family and group of belonging for everyone. And so that might look like joining a theater production or researching in a lab or joining an intramural, becoming a part of Little International, joining the Students Association. And so we have so many different communities within SDSU that I really think any student can thrive. They just have to find their own little place in there.
That's great. That's great. You kind of mentioned it, and I think everyone knows what you are doing next, but in case anyone missed it, you were named a Rhodes Scholar last fall. Only the second jackrabbit ever. Congratulations again. You'll begin your studies at Oxford in the fall. Talk about what that process was like, and have you decided what you're studying when you get there?
Thank you. I am really excited and I feel really blessed to have received the Rhodes Scholarship and have this opportunity. But it began my junior year. I was encouraged by a fellow peer to apply, and I began thinking about it throughout the summer before my senior year. And I started thinking about what would be in my personal statement. And then when I came to campus my senior year, I found out that the Rhodes Scholarship requires 8 letters of recommendation. So I went and I looked around to try to find 8 people who...
It's a good thing you're a triple major, right?
Yes, I would agree. So I tried to find 8 people who were excited to support my application. And luckily I have quite a few professors within my 3 majors. And so I was able to apply with their support. And then I waited, I submitted the application, and life moved on. And then all of a sudden I got an email that I was a finalist and that I would have a finalist interview in 10 days. And so for that 10 days, I really got focused, and I had so many individuals all across campus who were so excited to support me. I had professors and friends who helped me with mock interviews, individuals who were checking in on me to make sure that I was ready to fully embrace my interview. And then once I found out that I had my interview, it was 20 minutes, and then I found out I was named a Rhodes Scholar, and I just thought it was super incredible, and I couldn't believe it. And from there, now I've been meeting with other Rhodes Scholars, and when I'm at Oxford, I'm going to pursue my master's in comparative government, and I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm going to miss being at SDSU.
Well, we are very excited for you. We will miss you, but we kind of have an understanding, I think, between us that you're going to come back and visit and keep us posted on all the wonderful things that are happening in your life. Hattie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, thanks, Andy, and thanks, Hattie. And Hattie, we're very proud of you. And as you know, President Dunn has his own ice cream. It's called Berry Berry. So I think, given your affinity for ice cream and your accomplishments, maybe Rocky Road Scholar would be an appropriate new ice cream. So again, we're looking forward to following your progress at Oxford. When you think of all that this university has accomplished because of philanthropic support, the stories behind each project always have some unique circumstances and traits, but there is always one common theme present in every one of those stories. There's always 1 or 2 donors that exhibit that determination to make sure a project goes from concept to completion. We saw it in this building with Jerry Lohr and Dwayne Harms. They led, and hundreds of others followed. In a few months, construction will begin on a new wrestling facility on campus. Our wrestling program had a very determined and generous donor that made sure that happened. Here is that story.
First time I met Frank, the thing that came to my mind is a gentle giant. You know, he is a man of stature and very, very giving. You know, South Dakota State is so important to him. Not only the university, but athletics and wrestling. And so the first time I met Frank, I mean, that just came out of him, and the love and support he has for this university and wrestling program.
I think it was a turkey up on his wall, and we were talking about that one of the first times I met him. And then he's got the nice lake in the back of his yard, so we were talking about just outdoor stuff, and really it wasn't about wrestling right away. So that's kind of why I like the connection with Frank, is he wasn't just wrestling. He had more of a personality than just wrestling.
And we had supper at his house. So he had Nick's Hamburger Shop deliver hamburgers, and they actually they brought in 1 round, and then next thing another round of hamburgers comes in. And he's always just asking, anybody want more hamburgers? I can call in another batch. And we're just sitting there eating as much as we can, you know. And Frank was just, it was great to be around him, because he was full of energy and full of life, and just wanted to get to know us as athletes. And having that relationship with the donors, the donors obviously like that, but I don't think people talk about that aspect from an athlete's perspective. The fact that we have such a personal relationship with a guy who is supporting us so much, it gives it a lot more meaning, and allows us to be so much more grateful and thankful for him, because we actually know him, and we know what kind of person he is, and the way that he supports us, not only, you know, on the wrestling mat, but in other aspects of life. When we go to his house for supper, or we see him out in public, and he's just always a smiling face, ready to talk about how wrestling's going, how life's going, and it's just hard to find people like that.
So I actually came to campus, to get an education degree. I made up my mind when I was 13 years old I was going to be a teacher. Then I came up here, and during registration, which was in the gym at that time, Warren Williamson was he had to sign off on all my registration slips. So I was standing in the corner of the gym talking to him, and he said, Frank, you ought to take a good look at the wrestling program. And I had never ever even been exposed to it. I didn't know what it was. He said, well, just go over and talk to Ellis Jensen. And Ellis Jensen just made the team that week. And he told me at that point, he said, if it hadn't been for the wrestling program, I never would have been able to gain that strength and agility and so forth to play first team football. That's the way I got introduced to wrestling. When I came, we had a 24 by 24 foot mat. That little room was varsity, and they had freshmen in a classroom next door. Well, by the time I got back here, that year I coached 5 years later, they had knocked the wall out, and so we had kind of an L-shaped room that was pretty adequate. But for the people we recruited from at that point, we had the poorest facilities. And then I took a look here. This is 50 years old, or right close to 50 years old. And right now, we're competing against Minnesota, Iowa, Iowa State, Northern Iowa. Then we compete against North Dakota State. They've got nicer facilities. Wyoming's got a nice facility, and Air Force Academy. So that's our competition today. That wasn't our competition 50 years ago. So this brought us up, into the middle of the bunch. But right now we're back at the bottom. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I was interested in getting something done.
So there was a turning point in this project, and we were roughly about 30 days before we had to go to the Board of Regents. And first person I called is Frank, and we sat down, and I said, Frank, listen, we're up against the clock. And he said, listen, this is what these kids need, and I'm going to do what I have to do to make this a reality. And I wanted to hug him and thank him like no other. And he came to the table again. And when that happened, it really put us over the top. I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting at the foundation, and when the call came through, I got a text message from President Dunn saying that our facility got passed. And I actually had to get up out of the meeting and walk out because the sense of relief that we accomplished, something. And it would not have been possible if it wasn't for Frank.
We were all prepared to graduate with this wrestling room that we have here in Frost, and the new facility would just be down the road. But now I'm going to get to experience it for 2, maybe 3 years of my college career, which is amazing.
Frank has so much vested interest into what we are doing, and it's not just a financial component. You truly got to know Frank and the heart that he has. He is passionate about all things Jackrabbit athletics, in particular Jackrabbit wrestling. He is the key component to this project. His generosity has been nothing short of amazing. His willingness to support his vision. This is something. This project is going to forever change the landscape of wrestling here at South Dakota State University. And it would not have been possible if it wasn't for Frank and his family, to be honest with you. His vision, his leadership going through this has been phenomenal. It really has. And I am forever grateful for what he's been able to do, and you know, his support through this entire project in this university and our wrestling program.
That's amazing. These young men kind of bring tears to my eyes. First, I was blessed with an opportunity to help out. You know, the wrestling world is just one big family, and that's the way it was from my very beginning until, you know, you can hear it there. So that's important, that, you know, we cling together like a family.
This facility will make a major impact in all things Jackrabbit Wrestling. This will provide them a space to call home. And that's what the vision that me and Frank, when we sat down and talked, that's what it was. You know, your one-stop shop. That's what this is about. And creating a culture for these kids that they never want to leave. That's how you're going to be able to grow. That's how you're going to be able to change some things and bring out the best for these student athletes, when they have everything they need right there at their fingertips. You want to be a perennial powerhouse? Well, this is what the perennial powerhouse programs have. And our guys, they've been training in our current wrestling room for God knows how long. And it's a much needed update for them. So from a recruiting standpoint, it's going to change the game, I believe. You know, bringing a family here and knowing that, hey, listen, I am giving my baby boy off to South Dakota State, and these are the facilities that we are working with. Oh, how could you not feel good as a parent to know that their kids, not only from a coaching standpoint and administrative standpoint, that they're going to be taken care of, but look at the Taj Mahal that they get to train, study, and live in. I mean, that's what this is going to do.
It was kind of an unreal feeling knowing that we're finally getting this new facility, and to know that the guy that supported us in so many different ways up until this point was the guy who put us there was very rewarding, and just gives it more meaning. And I just can't explain how grateful and thankful I am that Frank did that for us, because it's something that it's going to be around for years and years to come, and we just are lucky enough to be the first ones to experience it.
This will be the best facility in the Big 12 Conference. This will be a top 5 facility in the country, and for South Dakota State to lay claim to that, and the support of Frank and his family, it's forever changing. You know, I mean, it'll forever change this program.
You know, we talk about the importance of stepping up and improving the program. And at South Dakota State, wrestling could be the best. We could have national NCAA champions every year. And there's no reason why South Dakota State can't win a national championship. That's my goal. Make sure that could happen. And so it's an opportunity to I hope to see it in the future.
If Frank was sitting here today in front of me, I don't know if there could be words spoken of how thankful I am. He was the man that started it all, and he'll be the man that finishes it all. You know, really, it's come full circle for him. So I will be forever indebted to Frank and his generosity. This would not be a possibility if it wasn't for him.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's keep the momentum and great news going. As a society, amongst teams, and as individuals, we learn and evolve the most when we are challenged. We grow the most when we are stretched physically, emotionally, and intellectually.
As daunting and exhausting as 2020 was at times, it provided us the opportunity to learn, to grow, evolve, and frankly, become better and stronger. I am proud to say we are a better organization today than we were a year ago, and we have the scars and results to prove it. I understand that in many ways 2020 was a year we all want to forget. But we must remember the last 12 months vividly. They taught us a lot. We learned to be more efficient. We learned to be more effective. And we now understand the importance of meeting people where they are at. As a result of our awareness, adaptations, and most importantly, the generosity of Jackrabbit faithful, 2020 was a record fundraising year. 2020 was the most productive and impactful year we have ever had at the foundation. Thanks to the philanthropic spirit of 10,415 donors, $73.3 million was committed to our bold Jackrabbit vision. Thanks to all of you who made a gift last year. We are grateful for your support. The gifts and commitments made in 2020 surpassed our previous all-time fundraising high of $63 million in 2013. Scholarships, faculty support, the Wakini Initiative, the Raven Precision Ag Center, and athletic priorities were popular designations for gift and commitments last year. Additionally, we experienced significant growth in our endowment, and deferred gift commitments continue to fuel our fundraising momentum and provide an optimistic view of our future. You have heard me say before, and I will say it again, success is always about people. We are thankful to be surrounded by great people at our foundation and our Alumni Association. We have a talented team of dedicated professionals who are committed to serving others. We have a bold and impactful university to love. We have loyal volunteers that are dedicated to the mission of our organizations. And we have generous, strategic donors that provide the financial support necessary to fuel our Jackrabbit success. When these four component parts of our Jackrabbit network are in sync and working together, transformational things happen. I'm happy to say our Jackrabbit network has never been stronger. It has never been more connected, and it has never been more effective. Over the last year, the impact of our staff, our university, and our volunteers and donor base has never been greater. Engagement has dramatically increased, and the results speak for themselves. Here are a few examples. Each member of our development committee has served on a task force to support and provide strategic support for targeted fundraising projects. Multiple trustees are serving on a coalition of volunteers that are significantly supporting the fundraising success of our rodeo program. Collaborations between our development team and the athletic department have resulted in multiple solicitations and major gifts. And our development partnership with our campus partners and leaders continues to enhance donor relationships that result in gift commitments in support of our campaign priorities. Our Jackrabbit network is making the difference today, and it will make the difference tomorrow. From a fundraising perspective, 2020 was great, but 2021 will be even better. You may be wondering, how can we improve upon a record-setting year? Let me tell you how 2021 will be the most dynamic and impactful year we have ever experienced. You see, our formula for success is fairly simple. First, we believe in a bold and aspirational vision that is motivating and compelling to alumni, friends, and constituents. We have a bold vision. Second, we believe committed, effective leaders separate good from great. We have great leadership at SDSU, and they are ready to lead courageously. Third, we know external champions provide the credibility and connectivity that fundraising success requires. As previously mentioned, we have an outstanding team of passionate volunteers dedicated to the yellow and blue. And finally, we know it takes significant financial support to fulfill the bold vision of South Dakota State. Thanks to you and thousands of others, we have a strong culture of giving at our institution. So as you can see, the essential elements are in place for unprecedented success to continue in 2021. We began planning for this success over 6 months ago. Through our 10-week goal-setting process, we kept a keen eye on our university's bold vision, our campaign priorities, and the information we have gathered through thousands of interactions with alumni and friends. It became very evident by mid-January that not only did 2021 have the potential to be great, it had a chance to be our best year ever. So on January 28th, our team made our fundraising goal recommendation to the Board of Governors of $102 million. Yes, you heard me correctly. Together, we have set our sights on raising $102 million in support of South Dakota State University. Our development approach is three-pronged. We believe in integrated philanthropy that involves synergy between loyalty giving, major giving, and deferred giving. All three phases of our development efforts contribute greatly to our success. Each philanthropic area provide a pathway for donors to make their desired impact at SDSU. Our $102 million working goal for this year is both energizing and formidable. We understand that to some, a 40% goal increase following a record-setting year might not seem reasonable or feasible. We believe not only is $102 million reasonable and feasible, it is appropriate. You see, it is appropriate to have a $102 million fundraising goal within an organization that serves a university with a bold vision. It is appropriate to have a $102 million fundraising goal within an organization that is planning to enter the public phase of a comprehensive campaign. And it is appropriate to have a $102 million goal within an organization that has an engaged network of staff, university partners, volunteers, and donors who are committed to serving our students, our region's workforce, and our state. As of this morning, we have raised $8.5 million this calendar year, which means our campaign total stands at $260 million today. In addition to the official commitments that have been made, we are engaged in multiple donor conversations who are considering 7- and 8-figure gifts. And we know in this business, nothing is official until it's official. But once those commitments are finalized, our campaign total will drastically increase. Where we stand today is a long way from $102 million, but we are confident our goal is definitely within reach. We expect to deliver exceptional results in 2021. Our students deserve our best, and they will get our best. Our team embraces the opportunity to lead and raise the sights of those we encounter. We hope you do too. In the coming months, our people-centered campaign will continue to inspire Jackrabbit faithful to financially support scholarships and faculty, dynamic programming, workforce development, research initiatives, campaign projects, and yes, some of the great Jackrabbit traditions we all love. I look forward to giving you all another very optimistic campaign progress report in person right here in Worcester Celebration Hall on October 22nd. Until then, we've got a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of great Jackrabbit stories to tell. Thank you for allowing us to help write your Jackrabbit story. In closing, whether an individual is making their first gift, a business is considering a strategic investment, or a couple is contemplating their long-term Jackrabbit legacy, the goal of our integrated philanthropic model is to provide opportunities for others to make their meaningful impact at South Dakota State University. We want to help all donors write their Jackrabbit story. We understand very clearly that donors make a very conscious choice when they make a gift to support SDSU. We are grateful for those who have invested in our campaign and appreciate the consideration others will give to supporting our students, our faculty, and our staff in the future. We understand 2021 will have its fair share of challenges, but we are extremely confident that the next 8 months will provide an abundance of opportunity. Thank you for your ongoing support. We look forward to working with you as we continue building momentum in our campaign. Have a great afternoon, and go Jacks.
Thank you, Keith. We strive to be very intentional and purposeful in our updates and messages to the trustees. We want to make the most of your time and give you the most relevant information. We were very intentional with the theme of this meeting, Countdown to a Bold Future. We have shared the date in many of our communications. We have circled it on some of our materials. Thursday, October 21st, that's when we will shift from the leadership phase into the public phase of this comprehensive campaign. We're close enough now to have pinned down the time and location for that announcement. On October 31st, it'll be at 4:30 p.m. in Club 71 of Dana J. Dykhouse Stadium. And we have a special celebration planned for later that evening, too. Now, it'll be similar to something we've done before, but in continuing with Mike Hart's observation, it's something we haven't quite done before. We are 175 days away from that. And while 6 months seems like a long time, we know how fast that will go. It's not like we couldn't move off that date if we had to. But can you imagine a more perfect backdrop for announcing the largest campaign in state history than during our homecoming, especially after being denied the traditional Hobo Day celebration this past fall? The stars are aligning. We need to control what we can control. We're confident that we'll be ready. We're in lockstep with university leadership on both the needs and the opportunities. We have the strongest and most diverse council of trustees we've ever had. We have recruited great campaign leadership from Jerry Lord, Dana Dykhouse, and Kim Tyler to a campaign cabinet and a business and industry cabinet. And we have enlisted the help of outside expertise. BWF has been an invaluable partner, from the feasibility study to development training of staff and campus partners to the overall campaign structure and strategy. Jeff Hilpertz of BWF has been with us from the very beginning. We've asked him to share his insights on where we're at and what we need to accomplish by October. And then we'll turn it over to Kim Tyler for the perspective of campaign leadership.
Hi, this is Jeff Hilpertz. In 175 days from now, we will be gathering to let the world in on our little secret. And some of you are probably sitting there curious, saying, gosh, Jeff, are we ready? Can we do this? As we look toward the public launch, it's important to note that this campaign has been built on a very strong foundation. So today I want to share a little bit about why the foundation and the Council of Trustees should feel confident in what comes next, primarily because of the work that's gone into this campaign so far. But the hard work is not done, far from it. So I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about how we need the Council of Trustees to lean in even further to help us make this next important step in the campaign. All campaign success starts with big ideas, but no campaign can be successful without careful planning and effective execution. For nearly 4 years, our firm has watched as the foundation has taken careful and deliberate steps toward building an infrastructure which will support not just this campaign, but the increased fundraising that lies well beyond it. But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at how some of those formative steps in greater detail. Investing in people. I know. You're all sitting there saying, well, of course you're going to recommend that we needed additional staff, Jeff. You're a consultant. What else are you going to say? But that's simply not the case. In 2018, we took a careful look under the hood and found a team of deeply committed professionals who are passionate about this institution. Simultaneously, we looked at what the data would say about the foundation's capacity to raise more money. In the end, we came to realize that South Dakota State Foundation was incredibly effective at raising money with a relatively modest staff. We also learned that there was capacity left untouched because there were simply not enough people to call on all of our prospects. So the firm made specific recommendations around hiring staff. Many of those recommendations have been carried out in thoughtful and strategic ways. The foundation has added 2 major gift officers and 3 loyalty giving officers, all to expand our reach. We've also reimagined existing teams and redeployed people to capture emergent opportunities, such as enhanced giving through social and digital media channels. We've also added team members to the foundation to ensure that gift officers are calling on the most promising prospects and have the most up-to-date background on those prospects when they do. But to be clear, this is not a static event. This is not something we can do once and consider a success. The foundation must constantly evaluate and reevaluate its staffing model and redeploy team members to capture opportunities as they present. The team is solid, and the results the last 2 years speak for themselves. The foundation has invested in the science and business of fundraising. I remember a conversation with foundation leadership in 2018 where they asked if they were crazy for considering a database conversion in the middle of planning the most ambitious campaign in the university's history. I think our firm's response was something like, well, you'd be crazy not to. And since that day, the foundation has undertaken an extensive project to enhance and upgrade its technology to better align with its aspirations. While this process is never easy, the foundation's ability to make better, data-informed decisions is already showing its progress. And the continued evolutions in technology and the business processes that support them will only continue to enhance the foundation's ability to raise money from an ever-widening base of donors. And these investments are not just in the hardware and software, but also ensuring that the team has the soft skills and proficiencies to use these tools as effectively as possible. It's a work in progress, to be sure, and it will always be a work in progress as technology continues to evolve rapidly. But from our perspective, the foundation has heard our advice, has invested resources, and has taken the steps, and is still committed to continual improvement now and into the future. It's all I can ask for. So let's look at a few key metrics to show that momentum is certainly in our favor. Annual fundraising totals continue to increase. Heck, you just heard from Keith a moment ago that you had a record year in the middle of a global pandemic. Donor counts are up too. Nearly 10,000 donors, 9,554 donors to be exact, have given their first ever gift to South Dakota State University since the beginning of the campaign. The number of major gifts are up as well. 56 donors have given more than $1 million so far in this campaign. We can compare that to the 38 total in the previous It Starts With State campaign. You've seen tremendous growth in your endowment, with nearly half of that coming from new gifts, not just great market performance. And as a result of adding to the fundraising team, the number of managed prospects is up and we're able to connect with more people. 74% of all campaign fundraising to date has been designated for initiatives that align with our people, which was a shared desire that this campaign be more people-centered. Add the growth in scholarships, the success of One Day for State, increased endowment positions, progress in academic and athletic facilities, and other achievements are all made possible because of the generous investments from all of you, and the positive momentum is clear. So the foundation is strong, and the outlook for philanthropy is also very strong. The Lilly Family School of Philanthropy at Indiana University is one of the most widely respected voices in philanthropy globally. It is essentially the gold standard when it comes to analyzing and predicting trends in philanthropy. The Lilly School is suggesting broad philanthropic growth for at least the next 2 years as the economy rebounds following the COVID pandemic. While there are no guarantees, however, that does give us some reassurance 6 months out from the public launch. So what comes next? How can we ensure that the momentum that's gotten us this far continues? I'm sure that you share my view that the foundation staff will continue to innovate and execute at a very high level. We already know the steps that they're taking to maximize giving in the next few months and are finding ways to keep philanthropy top of mind for Jackrabbit Nation. And while you're probably sitting there wondering, well, what can I do? How can I help add to the momentum between now and the public launch? Kim Tyler, our campaign co-chair, We'll be speaking to some of those very specific things in just a moment. But today I wanted to close by affirming the significance of your role as advocates and ambassadors for this great university during the next phase of the campaign. When people ask me what makes campaigns successful, a passionate, dedicated, and committed network of volunteers always makes my list. And you're very fortunate to have that here. South Dakota State University's Council of Trustees has had a long history of being a great partner to the foundation, the Alumni Association, Jackrabbit Athletics, and the university to see shared goals accomplished. And again, as you heard Keith say just a few moments ago, success is always about people. It's going to take every one of you taking the necessary steps to be a part and to ensure that we are successful in the critical months to come. My best advice is to be willing to respond when the call comes in. Be an enthusiastic representative of this university and be willing to share your passion for South Dakota State. That's how we're going to make sure that this momentum continues. The campaign has already accomplished a great deal. It's already the most successful campaign in the history of this university. We've created an infrastructure that's going to support increased philanthropy for decades to come. We've supported initiatives that matter and provided support to the people of South Dakota State University when it mattered the most. But we're not done. The finish line is not in sight. Diligence, grit, and resilience, each of these elements will be required for momentum to continue. And it will be required that everyone associated with this campaign dig a bit deeper to ensure success. It may not always be comfortable, but the students, faculty, and staff of this great institution deserve nothing less than our best. Thank you, and go Jacks.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Jeff, for your comments and for your partnership. We appreciate how you recognize the importance of our council. You were a quick study a couple of years ago regarding our exceptional organization and what it means to bring the blue. Thank you, everyone, for joining our event this afternoon. I am certain you are feeling the impact of the presentations and the people stories so far. It is no wonder we all feel such a unique loyalty in being Jackrabbits and a desire to support our premier university. Trustees have long history of being great partners to the foundation, the Alumni Association, athletics, the university to see our goals accomplished. The growth in scholarship dollars, the investment in the Lohr building, our alumni green and athletic facilities are just examples of that. The success of our campaign will depend on this group continuing that tradition of engagement and support. We've heard extraordinary results today presented by Keith and an excellent organizational recap by our partner, Jeff Hilperts. I want to convey not only our confidence in the campaign, but also share some next steps. We have two cabinets of exceptional breadth and depth, and the most engaged council of trustees we have ever had, and that makes up a power-packed group of people. I am certain everyone listening or watching today can embrace our call to action. Number one, you are doing it today. Get passionately and actively engaged. You come to meetings and you participate in events. In the coming months, the coming months will offer the opportunity to each of you to do those things and then some. Here are a few examples of how you can be a part of this countdown. When the foundation calls, answer. We know that the gift officers and the foundation leadership have developed cultivation and solicitation strategies for many of our top prospects. Involvement of the trustees and cabinet members could likely be a difference maker. Far too many friends and family just don't have the insights that we routinely get from the foundation or from campus. And I know many of you are willing, able, and you enjoy leveraging technology and those social media connections. So please keep forwarding emails, posting, sharing, tweeting, liking, and loving our story. At our campaign events, discernible and authentic enthusiasm is important. And as the campaign kickoff events begin this fall, Active participation by trustees will be critical to helping generate that surge of support that turns these events from pretty good to exceptional. We know this has always been true for the athletic scholarship auction and the donor celebration, where the energy in the room makes for unforgettable night. The same will hold true for our campaign kickoff. Obviously, we are going for the wow in all caps effect. And this only happens when the entire official family turns out. You know, in a post-COVID environment, when we know there is this pent-up excitement to re-engage and come together, this is even more important. So, number one, passionately engage. Number two, advocate. People give in support of big ideas and organizations, but they give to people and because someone has asked them. In the coming 175 days, those represent the most critical period we have in making new friends and bringing prospects under the tent. Folks, there are still thousands of donors, alumni, friends, and family within our reach, but they're connected by you. You have access to them in ways that are not possible for the staff. In many cases, you have spent years building trust with people who have watched the joy that you have experienced because of your relationship with SDSU. Sharing your story of philanthropy will inspire them to get more involved. Direct involvement with prospects, especially in those waning months of the leadership phase, may require getting out of our comfort zone a bit if we want to see transformative philanthropy in advance of our Hobo Day kickoff. Passionately engage. Actively advocate. Number three, you knew it was coming. Make a plan to give. A critical factor in campaign success is an organization's ability to describe their board and their council as being 100% invested. Being able to say that with authenticity is crucial. It sends the message to donors that this campaign is not a flash in the pan or a ploy by the foundation, but it's emphatically tied to the vision of our university and our bold future. It is so tied to that vision that every one of our trustees has made a commitment to invest in the people, the places, the traditions, and the innovations of SDSU. It tells donors this is a serious effort and serious people are behind it. Now, to date, less than about a third of our trustees have made what they consider to be their campaign gift. Now, to those of you who have made that commitment, thank you. To the others who are considering how and what they want to support, now is the time to act. Think about how you want to make your mark on this university and its people. Think about how good it has felt when you have made gifts to SDSU, and consider that feeling you will have when you know that more students will have access to SDSU because of your support, that a professor, a tradition, academic, arts, or athletic program will be changed because of your support. Every gift makes a difference. Paving our way to October 21st are transformative gifts, planned gifts, first-time ever gifts that are inspired by very different circumstances. I'm excited to give you a couple of examples, and two of these gifts were not reflected in the campaign update books that you have just received. The family of a longtime pharmacist from the class of 1952 established an endowment scholarship in his memory. It provides scholarship to P3 and P4 students. That's the last 2 years of the pharmacy program, and meaning the years 5 and 6 of their SDSU experience. That's game-changing. And even better, it was the family's first gift ever to SDSU. A farm family has made scholarships their priority and legacy, specifically in the College of Ag, Food, and Environmental Sciences and in the College of Nursing. A couple of years ago, they made a $1 million planned gift commitment to establish 5 scholarships. In fact, they are one of those 56 donors that Jeff just referenced that had made a $1 million or more commitment to the campaign. Now, since that time, this charitable family decided to make current gifts with the sale of grain and farm machinery to build these endowments today. We are getting $1 million from this generous couple, and we are getting it now instead of later. You know, just this week, another South Dakota couple made a mid-7-digit commitment. It will be a current gift, creating an endowed director's position and supporting another exciting initiative on campus. Speaking of transformational, in a few months, as we start the fall semester with a little celebration known as Jack's Bash 2, we will be able to announce the details of an 8-digit planned gift that will create another endowed dean's position and a significant scholarship endowment, and much more. Wow. With these new commitments, our confidence in meeting that big 2021 goal of over $100 million, our confidence is very high. We are on the pace needed to have that record year. Every gift will make a difference. During last year's One Day for State, 40% of those glad donors made their first ever gift. Imagine the potential of those folks. Like an acorn, relatively small start, but mighty in future impact. You know, Coach Stig consistently talks or speaks of how a win in each play comes down to each player doing their 1/11th. When our Pride of the Dakotas marches 2.5 miles in the Macy's parade, our band leader, Dr. Kessler, has got to have every member in every section execute at the highest level to deliver the greatest performance. And maintaining a winning record is hard. Overcoming natural disasters, recession, a global pandemic, excellence does not come easy. But the resolve, the determination, the commitment of our organization and our greater SDSU family has been nothing short of incredible. And we're not done. We're not yet satisfied. Our record-setting total will be historical, but its lasting impact will have the power to ensure the future of our premier university. So Jerry, Dana, and I are all in for the coming months, and we ask you to be as well. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. Go Jacks.
Thanks so much, Kim. You know, I promised that we would pack a lot into these 90 minutes, and we certainly have. I've taken to doing like Bob Schmidt does and keep a list of the things that stood out to me at this meeting. In keeping with the theme of having a word or two that exemplifies what we've done and what we're trying to achieve, I picked out a few from today's presentation. First, agility, adaptability. Keith talked about how being agile and able to move and to change focus led us to the most successful fundraising year ever in 2020. Steve talked about how our adaptability and agility led to a very different and very successful donor celebration, reaching more countries than we could ever have even imagined. Momentum. That was the word that you heard from President Dunn in his interview. We've had some certain momentum this year, starting with the successes unheard of that we had in the legislature. You know, there's lots to do, but a lot is riding on us staying focused and keeping on that momentum, riding that cresting wave. You heard from Frank Kurtenbach, who was blessed with an opportunity. And I want the rest of you trustees to know that there are those opportunities for you out there as well, and we need you to step up. You know, you can volunteer, you can donate, but most of all, you can support and be a cheerleader for our next campaign. A word that I've used a lot in these last 2 weeks is gratitude. Gratitude for all you do to make SDSU Foundation and our university great, and especially the immense gratitude that I have for all of the staff who have pulled off so much so seamlessly. So thank you, and gratitude is a great word there. And finally, bold. You know, that's in our campaign. We have big dreams. We have big aspirations. We have big goals. Everything that we need to take us to the level of being a premier organization and premier university and to keep us there. So I'd like to turn it over now to President Dunn to wrap it up and to serve as our inspiration in that countdown to a bold future.
Thank you so much, Rita. During the long pandemic months of 2020, uncertainty reigned. What we didn't know about the pandemic far outweighed what little we knew. As president of South Dakota State University, I found myself responsible for not only knowing the unknown, but also the health and well-being of nearly 12,000 young people, someone's beautiful children, and responsible for 2,000 employees who also had children and grandchildren. I also knew that a whole community, which I love, and where my wife and sons lived, was at enormous risk. If what we all saw happening a year ago in New York City had hit SDSU and Brookings, we would have certainly collapsed. If you remember a year ago right now, tests for COVID-19 were still being developed and none were available to us. A year ago, a vaccine had not been developed or tested, let alone millions of doses produced, or the logistics developed to deploy them into hundreds of millions of arms. And let's not forget, an actual treatment for COVID-19, something like penicillin, has still not been developed. A year ago right now, we were finishing instruction online and planning a virtual commencement on an empty campus. Nearly everyone was working from home, and yet we were already planning to safely open in the fall. It was in May of last year when I asked my campus leadership team, who I had hired because of their expertise in academic affairs, student affairs, research, communications, athletics, legal affairs, technology, and finance, to become experts in emergency management. I asked them to develop and then deploy plans for not only opening the campus back up, but to put it in gear for full operation. By August, we were to have invited 12,000 students to campus from all 50 states and dozens of foreign countries, teach thousands of sections of hundreds of classes, live in the dorms, and feed thousands of students each day, 7 days a week. And by the way, our goal was to keep students, faculty, and staff safe from this deadly virus, which in retrospect, we knew little about. I knew it would take bold leadership. I am fairly well educated, both formally and now deep into my 7th decade informally. And yet day after day, week after week, month after month, I have been a naive student again, devouring every bit of information I can find about a deadly virus that acts differently than anything in the medical journals. I've pored over hundreds of articles on websites. I listened to experts on the news. I learned from experts on campus and followed their daily analysis of the dynamic situation. I hired a new public health specialist whose sole job is to inform, read, interpret, advise, and guide me and our entire leadership team. I formed an advisory committee of community health professionals to work with and advise the university leadership team. We built a coalition with the city of Brookings, its school district, and Brookings Health System, along with Avera and Sanford. This coalition committed to each other to communicate, share, learn, and act in sync with each other. And what a year. As society, we've expressed opinions and debated and discussed and sadly argued over every possible aspect of this experience. Quite frankly, it's been exhausting. And yet, we now find ourselves a mere week away from in-person commencement ceremonies on our campus. We made it. Over 2,000 graduates will receive degrees which will propel them into an exciting future. And if I can guarantee them one thing, it's that their future will be exciting. And over 9,000 other students will have progressed towards their future, excited to return home for the summer and to a sense of normalcy. And here on campus, it's nearly May, so we are already busy planning for next August and Jack's Bash 2, Hobo Day, and our return to our own normal. As I reflect on this year, I am incredibly grateful for the leadership team of SDSU that I am humbled and proud to be part of. And that certainly includes the SDSU Foundation and Alumni Association. What a terrific group of professionals. I want to thank them all. Early last summer, I saw a picture taken by a professional photographer in Idaho, which sparked my imagination. He took a picture of a massive thunderstorm, perfectly capturing an enormous bolt of lightning, and in the same image of the same storm, a beautiful rainbow. Of course, it brought forth the familiar imagery of Genesis chapter 12, verse 13. For I have set my rainbow in the clouds. This spectacular picture has served me ever since as a near perfect metaphor for a year with COVID. A blinding, angry lightning strike which came out of nowhere with a spectacular rainbow and its promise of hope and grace. I will end with this. During the turbulent year of 2020, the SDSU Foundation raised over $73 million for SDSU. You have been a beautiful rainbow for me and SDSU. Thank you all for your inspiration and imagination, your generosity, and your leadership. Thank you for being bold.